I had only gone back inside to grab the pair of glasses I'd forgotten on the dining room table, something that happens far more often now that I'm 70. I opened the door quietly, not wanting to make any noise, when a voice drifted from the living room. My son Daniel was on the phone, speaking in a tone I'd never heard from him before, low, smug, and edged with something that made my stomach clenched. I froze at the hallway corner. "She'll never see it coming," he said with a laugh that chilled me straight through. "It's done. All the funds are in your account now, just like we arranged." My heart seemed to stop. He was talking about me. Daniel, my only child, was casually discussing my emptied bank account as if it were some business deal. I pressed a hand against the wall to steady myself as he continued in a voice I barely recognized. "Relax, Claire," he told the woman on the line, his wife. "She trusts me completely. Always has. She's too naive to question anything." Every word stabbed deeper. Claire. The daughter-in-law I'd welcomed with open arms 2 years earlier. The woman who hugged me at family dinners and called me Mom, with syrupy sweetness that Daniel's voice took on a triumphant edge. 280,000. Every cent from her main savings. "We can finally buy that cottage near the coast. And that SUV you love. $280,000. The money my late husband and I saved during decades of long workdays and frugal nights. Money from the sale of the clinic we built together when we were young and hopeful. Money meant to carry me through the rest of my life. Gone. Taken by my own son." That I stood there, shaking, memories flashing through my mind. When my husband Martin died 5 years earlier, I thought nothing could hurt more. Daniel had stood beside me at the funeral, helping me through the paperwork, convincing me to sell the clinic and enjoy my retirement. I thought he cared. I thought Claire cared. How wrong I'd been. 6 months ago, Daniel insisted I add him as power of attorney just in case. Just in case something happened to me, just in case I needed help, just in case he wanted to rob me blind. His voice snapped me back to the present. "I'll swing by her house later," he told Claire. "Pretend to be shocked. We'll blame it on the bank, maybe claim her account was compromised. She won't realize what we've done until the money's moved again." He laughed. That laugh shattered something inside me. I slipped out the door as silently as I'd entered. By the time I reached my car, my legs were shaking so hard I had to support myself on the railing. The world around me, neighbors chatting, children riding bikes, felt insultingly normal compared to the disaster unraveling inside my chest. I sat behind the wheel and broke down, crying harder than I had since Martin's funeral. But through the tears, something fierce rose inside me, a resolve I hadn't felt in years. They thought I was weak. They thought age made me fragile. They thought trust made me blind. They were wrong. I wiped my face, started the car, and drove until the city blurred past the windows. In that blur, clarity finally came. I needed help. Real help. Someone who wouldn't let emotions cloud judgment. I called my oldest friend, Linda, my confidant since our children were in primary school. The moment she answered, my voice broke and I poured out everything. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, her fury practically crackled through the phone. "That parasite," she snapped. "Stay right where you are. I'm coming." Minutes later, she slid into my car and held me until the sobs subsided. Then her tone hardened. "Listen carefully. You're going to fight back. And you're going to win." She laid out a plan as if she'd prepared for this moment her whole life. Step 1. Go to the bank manager I trusted, Mr. Harlan, who'd handled my accounts for 20 years. Step 2. Act normal with Daniel until the investigation was underway. No confrontation, no suspicions. Step 3. Document everything I heard. Names, times, exact words. Step 4. Record every conversation with Daniel and Claire from that moment forward. "And Mary?" Linda took my hands, her eyes blazing with protective anger. "The moment Daniel chose to steal from you, he stopped being your son. What you're doing isn't revenge. It's justice." That I nodded, heartbroken but steady. That night, I played the part Linda coached me through when Daniel stopped by to check on me. My acting surprised even me. I smiled, chatted, offered coffee, while a recording app ran silently in my pocket. Inside, I wanted to scream when he finally left, pretending to be the devoted son I nearly collapsed from exhaustion. But I kept going. For Martin. For myself. For the life we'd built. The next morning, I was at the bank the moment the doors opened. Mr. Harlan reviewed the transactions with a grim expression. All the transfers went to an account under Claire Turner, he said quietly. Given what you're reporting, this constitutes financial exploitation. You'll need to file a formal complaint. That word, complaint, hit me like ice. Report my son. But then I remembered the sound of his laugh, the pleasure in his voice. I'll file it, I said. He blocked the accounts, printed the records, and contacted the fraud department. Within hours, Linda and I were filing the official report at the district attorney's office. The young prosecutor, Ms. Ramos, took my case seriously. This is elder financial abuse, she said. And we're pursuing it. 2 days later, she called us back in with alarming news. Another elderly man, Mr. Brooks, sat in her office, haunted, hollow-eyed. Claire had done the exact same thing to him through his son. Same manipulation. Same strategy. Same theft. This proves a pattern, the prosecutor said. Claire targets families with aging parents and convinces their sons to exploit them. Your case just became much stronger. My stomach twisted. Daniel hadn't simply made a mistake. He had knowingly followed a blueprint, one Claire had used before. The prosecutor continued. We've frozen the account holding your funds. Claire attempted to move the money, but the transfer was denied. It was the first real breath I'd taken in days when she told me Daniel had refused to appear for questioning, sending a lawyer instead. Something inside me broke permanently. My son was gone. Not physically, but morally, spiritually, completely. He had chosen greed over love. Claire had chosen exploitation over family. And I, finally, had chosen myself. What comes next will be painful. Court hearings. Statements. Recovery. But for the first time since that terrible moment in my hallway, I feel strong again. And I will get my life back. Even if doing so means letting go of the son I thought I knew. I stepped back inside the house because I'd forgotten my reading glasses on the dining room table. At 70, little slips like that had become more common than I liked to admit. I eased the door open quietly. That's when I heard my son, Robert, speaking on the phone in the living room. His voice sounded off. There was an edge to it, a cruel laugh that chilled me to the bone. I froze in the hallway as his words echoed through the house. I can't wait to see her face when she notices the empty account. Everything's done. I moved all the money into your account, just like we planned. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. My only son, speaking about me as though I were just another victim. I leaned against the wall, struggling to process what I was hearing. Relax, Sarah, he went on. She trusts me completely. Too trusting, honestly. She'll never question it. Each word sliced deeper. Sarah, his wife, the woman who had joined our family 2 years ago with a sugary smile, wasn't who she pretended to be. Robert continued, sounding proud of himself. $280,000. Everything from her main account. All ours. The beach house, the car. We can get it all now. I slipped back outside as silently as I had entered, terrified he might see me. Leaning against my car, I fought to breathe. My own son, my own blood. The next morning, I walked into the district attorney's office. Sandra, the prosecutor, greeted me with compassion mixed with determination. She reviewed my bank records, the transfers, and the audio recording I had taken of Robert's call. This is more than enough to open a serious investigation, she assured me. Just then, an elderly man entered. His name was Elias. His posture sagged with defeat, and sadness clung to his eyes. Sandra explained that he too believed he'd been scammed. By Sarah. He sat across from me and sighed. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. I know that pain. He told me how his son, Scott, Sarah's ex-husband, had drained his savings using documents he didn't remember signing. When Elias confronted him, Scott dismissed him as confused and forgetful. The humiliation still trembled in Elias's voice. I did nothing, he whispered. I was too ashamed to speak up. I reached out and took his hand gently. This time we won't be silent, I promised. We'll fight back together. Sandra nodded. With Elias's testimony, we have more than enough to summon Sarah. If she refuses, we'll arrest her. The following morning Sandra called again, this time with urgency. Sarah was arrested this morning trying to flee the country, she said. Suitcases full of cash and jewelry, all linked to the stolen funds. My legs nearly gave out. And Robert? I asked. He was with her. Both are in custody and will be formally charged this afternoon. After I hung up, Rebecca arrived almost instantly, sensing something was wrong. Or finally right. When I told her, we both cried with relief. Later that afternoon, Sandra informed me that Robert wanted to speak with me before the arraignment. I hesitated but realized I needed closure. Rebecca came with me. In the interrogation room, Robert walked in with handcuffs on, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. His eyes were hollow, and his voice cracked the moment he said, "Mom?" "Explain," I said coldly. "Explain how my son could steal everything I owned and laugh about my suffering." He lowered his eyes. "I didn't want to hurt you. Sarah twisted everything. She made me believe you had more money than you needed. That it was basically my inheritance." The word stung. Inheritance. I repeated. "Your father and I worked 40 years for that money. And you stole it as if it were yours by right." He broke down. I know I was wrong. Sarah fed me lies, dreams of a better life. And I let greed blind me. I thought I'd pay it back one day. I was stupid. "Don't you dare blame just her," I said. "I heard you. Your voice. Your laughter." He sank into the chair. "You're right. I betrayed you. I made the transfers. And now I'll pay for it. Prison, losing my job, losing you. That hurts the most." His pain was real, but it wasn't enough. "You're going to prison, Robert," I said steadily. "And you should. When you come out, don't expect the mother you once knew. She doesn't exist anymore." He begged softly. "I'm not asking for forgiveness now, just for a chance someday to show I've changed." I couldn't promise him anything. As I turned to leave, he called out one last time. "Mom, most of the money is still in the blocked account. They'll return almost all of it to you." But the money wasn't what hurt most. I cried in the hallway, Rebecca holding me as everything finally broke loose. An hour later, we attended the arraignment. Seeing Robert and Sarah before the judge felt unreal. Sarah's expression was cold, defiant. No remorse at all. Robert couldn't lift his head. Elias gave a heartbreaking testimony of his own humiliation and loss. The judge assured him justice would finally be served. Both Robert and Sarah were denied bail. 3 months later, the trial began. Sandra managed to recover nearly all my money. I only lost roughly $5,000, but the emotional cost was far greater. The evidence was overwhelming. Sarah received 8 years in prison for fraud and exploitation of the elderly. Connections to additional victims in other states were found on her computer. Robert received 5 years, reduced slightly due to cooperation and acknowledgement of Sarah's influence, but the judge made it clear he was still fully responsible. "Betraying your own mother," the judge said, "is a moral crime that will haunt you for life." When the verdict was final, I felt both relief and a crushing sadness. I had protected myself and others, but I had lost my son. After the trial, Elias embraced me. "Thank you, Mary. Because of you, I can finally rest." His gratitude warmed me deeply, and in the months that followed, Rebecca helped me through the long healing process. I sold my old house and moved into a smaller apartment, wanting a fresh start free from painful memories. With Sandra and Elias, I helped create a support group for elderly victims of financial abuse. People came in carrying years of shame. Slowly, they found their voices again. 6 months later, a letter arrived from Robert. I held it for days before opening it. His words were full of remorse. He didn't ask for forgiveness, only understanding that I wasn't ready to answer. Maybe one day. Maybe never. A year after everything, I sat in a cozy cafe with Rebecca and Elias. We had become inseparable, an unexpected, beautiful little family. "Mary," Elias said warmly, "they thought taking your money would weaken you, but all they did was reveal how strong you really are." You didn't just recover your savings, you reclaimed your dignity. He was right. That night, I sat in my favorite chair, sipping tea as the city lights glowed outside. I reflected on everything: the betrayal, the grief, the lessons learned. Unconditional love does not mean accepting abuse. Protecting yourself sometimes requires heartbreaking decisions. Family is not always blood. And it is never too late to be brave. I smiled softly. Today I am alone, I whispered to myself. But for the first time in years I am at peace. And that is priceless. Peace came at a heavy cost, but it was worth every step to reach it. The following months slowly pieced my life back together. Rebecca stayed by my side, reminding me gently that healing wasn't something to rush. Some days were heavy with memories, others surprisingly peaceful. But every day I felt myself growing stronger. Selling my old home was one of the hardest decisions I had ever made. For years that house had been filled with laughter, family gatherings, and quiet evenings with my husband when he was still alive. Now every room seemed haunted. Echoes of a mother who trusted too much, and a son who shattered that trust. My new apartment was smaller, simpler, but filled with light. I chose it deliberately. High windows, calm colors, a place where nothing reminded me of the past. For the first time in a long time I felt safe. Sandra, Elias, and I continued building the support group we started. What began as only a handful of people slowly grew. Week after week, more elderly men and women came forward. Some trembling with shame, others angry that they had stayed silent so long. But each meeting ended with something powerful: hope. People who had been robbed of dignity were reclaiming it, little by little. One afternoon, as Elias spoke about how he was beginning to sleep better these days, he suddenly looked at me with soft, grateful eyes. "Mary," he said, "you turned your pain into something that helps others. You should be proud of that." I didn't know what to say. But his words warmed me more than he could ever know. Meanwhile, the letter from Robert stayed tucked in a drawer. I couldn't bring myself to read it again, but I also couldn't bring myself to throw it away. It was a reminder of a wound still healing, slowly, cautiously. Every now and then I wondered what he was doing in prison, whether he was truly changing, whether therapy was helping him see the man he had become, and the man he could still choose to be. But I never let those thoughts linger too long. The following months slowly pieced my life back together. Rebecca stayed by my side, reminding me gently that healing wasn't something to rush. Some days were heavy with memories, others surprisingly peaceful. But every day I felt myself growing stronger. Selling my old home was one of the hardest decisions I had ever made. For years that house had been filled with laughter, family gatherings, and quiet evenings with my husband when he was still alive. Now every room seemed haunted. Echoes of a mother who trusted too much, and a son who shattered that trust. My new apartment was smaller, simpler, but filled with light. I chose it deliberately. High windows, calm colors, a place where nothing reminded me of the past. For the first time in a long time I felt safe. Sandra, Elias, and I continued building the support group we started. What began as only a handful of people slowly grew. Week after week, more elderly men and women came forward. Some trembling with shame, others angry that they had stayed silent so long. But each meeting ended with something powerful: hope. People who had been robbed of dignity were reclaiming it, little by little. One afternoon, as Elias spoke about how he was beginning to sleep better these days, he suddenly looked at me with soft, grateful eyes. "Mary," he said, "you turned your pain into something that helps others. You should be proud of that." I didn't know what to say. But his words warmed me more than he could ever know. Meanwhile, the letter from Robert stayed tucked in a drawer. I couldn't bring myself to read it again, but I also couldn't bring myself to throw it away. It was a reminder of a wound still healing, slowly, cautiously. Every now and then I wondered what he was doing in prison, whether he was truly changing, whether therapy was helping him see the man he had become, and the man he could still choose to be. But I never let those thoughts linger too long.